Alright, before I talk about Tesla's next big update, which in my opinion is already making some pretty massive changes, there's one more feature that I didn't include in my last video that was part of the 2024.14 update that in my opinion is a pretty big one. At least it makes a big impact on my usage of the vehicle, so I'm starting off with that, and you may have found yourself in a similar situation in the past. Let's say you're charging somewhere, and you activate Tesla Theater, right? But you're going, wait a second, there's no Peacock, there's no Apple TV Plus, there's no Max. Some people had workaround solutions to that where you gotta download apps or go to certain websites, but the problem was, even when you go through the browser, you're still limited to this little window. So let's say you want to watch Dune 2, technically, yeah, it could start playing, but now you still can't get rid of this side of the display. Now you've got all these black letterboxing things and going on, so the movie actually takes up, I would say, only about 50% of this entire display. And while this may seem like a small thing, finally you can actually hit the full screen button and let the movie take up the entire display, which is excellent. The only problem, my only slight complaint here, is the URL menu bar thing at the top. It's not as distracting in dark mode. It's set to light mode right now just because it's daytime and stuff, but that feature I'm incredibly impressed with, and it makes watching content that is not directly available on theater mode much easier to watch. And honestly, a lot of the stuff we've been watching has been on Max anyway, so I genuinely haven't been using Tesla Theater all that much. Netflix is too expensive. I've watched pretty much everything I'm interested in on Disney Plus and Hulu, but I guess I do still watch YouTube quite a bit. And you're getting banned soon, so I don't know why you're still here. But aside from that, a lot of people, especially my friends who still have full self-driving, have still yet to receive the 2024.14 update with all the UI changes and stuff. Still looks beautiful. I still think they could have done more with like the charging animation. If you're charging the car, they should put a little wall connector back here, or if you're supercharging, they could put a little V3 cabinet behind it. Just make it a little bit more immersive, but this is still cool. Even in Mars mode, it remembers to keep Mars in the background. But despite the fact that they haven't finished shipping this out to all of the vehicles with the AMD Ryzen processor, so if you have a Tesla that's in 2021 or older, you're probably not going to get this big UI update. They've already started announcing and started rolling out the 2024.20 update, which in my opinion is a huge deal because it finally starts taking advantage of the Matrix LED headlights. These have been in Tesla's vehicles for years now, I think longer even than the AMD Ryzen processor has, and yet they just haven't taken advantage of them. In other countries, I guess the regulations are more chill about them, and these headlights are actually capable of leaving holes surrounding pedestrians or bikers so that you can kind of blur high beams and low beams together, which is pretty cool. And while they're not giving that functionality to the US yet, they are saying now that the Matrix LEDs will adapt based on the curvature of the road. So as you go into certain turns, the lights will, I guess, turn a little bit with the wheels, which is really cool. I don't have the update yet, but I really can't wait to try it out. And I hope we get all of those adaptive headlight functions that we saw over in Europe so that we can kind of blur high beams and low beams together. But Tesla does say in this update that when you're on the highway, the headlights will actually be a little bit brighter and more aggressive than they are in rural conditions where you don't need to actually see that far in front of you. It might be an efficiency thing, but I'm just glad that we're actually going to be getting some real world improvements thanks to the Matrix LEDs, which yes, are currently on my vehicle. So I will definitely give you feedback once I eventually get this update. Secondly, they're also adding the functionality so that you can do beach buggy racing at Superchargers and actually like compete with other people at the Supercharger. It's a little gimmicky. I don't want to wear out my tires, and I'm guessing most other people don't either, so probably won't be testing that one out. But the last feature they said that's part of the 2024.20 update was a little interesting to me, but one that my wife, I think, will be very interested in. So it claims that on all Model 3s and Ys, they'll be able to cool down the cabin faster, which has been a notable complaint from my wife in this car, unfortunately. I try to tell her, it's the heat pump, and I try to precondition as much as I can, but sometimes, you just either don't have good connection to the car because you're in a dead zone, or it takes too long for the car to boot up, or you're a little bit spontaneous and you're just like, wait, we gotta go right now, and you hop in the car. You don't always have the ability to precondition the cabin, and on those situations where we don't precondition, she notices that even though we turn the AC on blast, it doesn't cool down the cabin as quickly as our old Hyundai Sonata does. What I've noticed when I had a loaner vehicle from Tesla that was a 2018 Model 3, the kind that didn't have the heat heat pump. Sure, that old-fashioned resistive AC technology it used to have in it was far less efficient, and the heat pump definitely preserves your range a lot more, but I did notice in that older 2018 Model 3, it got cold like that. I didn't precondition the car because it wasn't connected to my phone. I was just using a key fob. But the second I got in the car and turned on the AC, it was just instant cold. So that is something I think that Tesla took a little bit of a hit on when they switched over to the octo valve, which I do think was the right call. It's a compromise, but still there is a downside to it. So I'm very excited to try out this new, more effective cooling tech, which may be worse for your battery. It might result in the car draining its energy a lot faster, but if it results in the car cooling itself down faster, then my wife, I think, will be up for it and excited by it. I doubt it will be able to cool the cabin as quickly as a non-heat pump equipped vehicle, but it's still just pretty crazy at the end of the day that there's an over-the-air update that's capable of making the vehicle feel so new and so fresh. Every couple of months, we just get an update bomb, and headlights are gaining more functionality. We got this super clean UI, and now I can full screen when we're playing movies and stuff on Max. It's just, you can't get this kind of features and functionalities in other vehicles just via over-the-air updates. It's hard to find. Rivian, though, is definitely catching up. I'm glad to see that, but I still feel like Tesla is in a class of its own, and it's very hard to compete with them on the software simplicity on both the mobile app and in the car, and I can't wait to see what other updates we gain in the future. And I apologize to everybody out there who has full self-driving, who hasn't gotten these updates yet, or you have an older Tesla with an Intel processor, so you're not able to gain this functionality. I hear ya. I'm sorry for ya, and I wish you all the best. I hope Tesla gets around to adding some of these features to the older cars too. Thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again, and have an excellent rest of your day.